Erhard has been invited to speak to audiences at universities throughout the world on a wide range of topics, including from physics to metaphysics, systems of knowing about knowing. That was at Stanford University. The nature of transformation at Cambridge Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and the phenomena of being at the All-Union Knowledge Society in Moscow. Let's return now to some of those nationwide interviews and take a look at this phenomenon, which was not a trend, it wasn't a fad, another manifestation of the me decade. How have the media covered this work? How have the media reacted to a man and an organization that have as their purpose fulfilling the possibility of being human, of having one's life make a difference?
Why do you think it is that there's been so much resistance from the press and I mean, people almost get angry and they talk about the regimentation and the sort of Mooneyism, brainwashing, that whole kind of thing?
One of the reasons that there's a lot of, for the controversy from time to time is that I don't tell people what to do, and I don't tell people what to believe, and I don't tell people what to think. So they say, well, what did you tell somebody? You have to tell them, you know, I mean, if you don't tell them that, then you didn't tell them anything. Controversy is supposed to be hot media. I mean, you know, one wants to introduce this person as Mr. Controversial.
Yes.
I mean, if it's Mr. Guy who was involved in a contribution to the lives of 250,000 people, what's that about? Well, let's see if we can find a little controversy. No one tells anybody else the truth. You can only get the truth for yourself. And my job is to interact with people in such a way that they can stand on our interaction and see the truth for themselves and really run their own lives, rather than having this whole system of opinions out here and this whole kind of consensus reality determine who they are and how their lives are going to go.
Why is your training rigid? Why do you follow such rigid rules?
Different people experience it in different ways. And when we say that people are responsible, what we mean is that they're responsible not for the circumstances, but for their experience of the circumstances.
His own experience at that moment.
Of his own, yes.
And the chairs are uncomfortable, hard chairs. How did you keep Cloris still that long?
Oh, Cloris was definitely not still.
No.
No, I made it comfortable for myself. Sometimes I'd be down like this.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd be over like this.
But in those chairs.
By and large, I did well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really.
Actually, you do. You learn about 40 or 50 different positions that you can sit in a chair during the training.
I found a secret, Werner. The thing is, when you just can't stand it any longer, you get a microphone and stand up and share.
Sharon, you had a question.
I've had problems with S coming between me and people I know that have been through the training. It creates a wall. There is a sort of secrecy. They can't communicate it. You're supposed to accept it on faith. It's just terrific, and that's, you know, sort of all they can tell about, and I have a problem with that.
I don't think that graduates want you to accept anything about EST on faith. I think that what they want to ask you to do is to find out for yourself. It is true that much of what's valuable about the training can't be discussed. See, our language is really useful for concepts, but the true experiences in life are really communicated most often by artists, in poetry and in painting and in the various other art expressions. So it's not easy to talk about something that has been a real and a very deep, meaningful experience for you in conceptual terms. Just like you'd be very hard-pressed to tell me how to balance on a bicycle. See, if you wanted me to get up on a bicycle, you'd say, you know, sit on the saddle and balance. But I'd say, well, what do you mean? You know, I got up on the bicycle and fell down. Why don't you tell me what it means to balance? And you couldn't really, because it's something you've got to find out about for yourself. And the training is very much like that. You need to investigate it on your own. You need to come to your own conclusions about it, and you need to see whether you want to take the chance of trying it out.
Now about the training itself.
The thing that's, I think, important, Amanda, for people to know about the training itself is that the training is really something that we, for the most part, don't get a chance to spend much time with in life. We're too busy taking care of our lives and taking care of the circumstances. And what the training does is to put you in touch with the contexts of your living. It's kind of like, if I can make an analogy, if we live in a box a possibility. Let's say the box represents the possibility, and we try to explore the corners and find new ways of moving around the box. Well, the training is about being able to create alternative boxes for life, rather than doing more in the same box, or even doing better in the same box, or even doing something different in the same box. It's about creating new boxes.
Let's go back to EST itself. What do 280,000 people have that those of us who haven't gone through the training don't have?
Well, everyone has it, so there's nothing that you get in the training that you didn't have to start with. You know, I live in San Francisco, and there's that big, beautiful bridge that goes from San Francisco across the bay, the Golden Gate Bridge, and every once in a while the fog comes in and obscures the bridge. And you could say, if you were there at that time, well, there is no bridge. But then the wind will come along and blow the fog away, and that enormous, beautiful bridge is exposed, and that's exactly the way the training works. It's not that we know something that we think you need to know. It's that we've discovered that you know some things that if you knew, it could make the quality of your life enhanced. The training is done in an atmosphere of what I call real dignity. That's as contrasted with a kind of social grease or pretended or polite dignity. And the training is done with compassion. One could say with a ruthless compassion, but real compassion. It's the compassion in which I know that you are a powerful human being with a kind of internal dignity, that you aren't fragile, that you aren't going to fall apart, that you're a person really who has the capacity to shape their own life.
Werner, some skeptical people out there, again, could you give us more about what the actual training is?
What I really want to be clear about, Ted, because it hasn't been brought up yet, and it's the single most important fact about the whole business of the training, and that is that 280,000 people have been through the training, and they all report, I mean, I'm now not talking about a majority or most, but almost all of them have reported that it was the single most important experience in their life in terms of making a contribution to the quality of their life. EST is not up for votes. It's not for or against it. The training is clearly valuable in people's lives. It clearly makes a difference. And I want to get this across. We've enjoyed an enormous amount of support from people for one reason, not because they believe in the training, not because they joined a movement, not because of any devotion. It really made a difference in their life.